Thanks, Martin, for the short introduction, as well as for giving me the opportunity to present maybe a part of the German implementation. Of course, not all, but to give you an overview of what we are doing in Germany and what is our way to implement the services, especially for public transport prioritization. First of all, I will give you a short motivation, but really a short motivation, because I think all of you who are now in the webinar have already heard about CITS and the different CITS services. Then I will give you afterwards an overview about the CITS service and the guidance documents we have in Germany. And at the end, I will finish up with the CITS deployment in Germany, but only a part, because I don't know all the cities who are deploying CITS now. These are really many cities, especially for public transport priority. If we speak about CITS, we of course speak about an intelligent infrastructure which is connected with the vehicles. So we have a cooperation between both infrastructure, especially traffic lights, and the vehicles to ensure a safe and an efficient transport in the cities and the urban areas. We often speak about two ways of communication, and both ways are feasible for public transport priority. The third way is CITS in a decentralized way. So the communication, the direct communication link, we know as CITS services, and many CITS services work with this direct link. And the second way is the centralized communication. But most of the implementations we have in Germany use the decentralized communication, so the direct communication between an onboard unit in the vehicles, the public transport vehicles, and the roadside units equipped on the traffic lights in the infrastructure. For public transport, two services are the most important services in Germany. The first service, I think nearly all of you know, is the TSP, Traffic Signal Priority Service, where we adapt the status of a traffic light for high priority vehicles. These are especially public transport, but also emergency vehicles, so all the blue light vehicles, of course, and partly the governance vehicles. The main goal for this service is the reduction of the travel times and the increase of road safety, and of course to ensuring timetable stability and guarantee good quality of the public transport service in cities. And the other service, also an important service, is the green light optimal speed advisory service. So the prediction of green light stages for an efficient and comfortable driving, as well as a sensible rescheduling of the unavoidable waiting times to the stop. So the most important fact is that the vehicles, the public transport vehicles, wait a little bit longer in the stops to avoid stop times in front of the signal controller. So we optimize also the speed in the approach to the signal lights, and that's why we use both services where it is not possible to have a 100% prioritization. So to get an approach by green, there we use the Green Optimal Speed Advisory Service to realize a good prioritization. In 2018, 2020, maybe in this interval of time, we realized that we really don't have any guidance documents or regulation except the standardization documents from ETSI and the harmonization documents from C-Roads. So, but maybe this is typical Germany, but we also need national documents for this, and that's why there was 3 documents implemented or written in this time. The first document was from the Federal Highway Transport Research Institute, and this was the use of CITS-based public transport prioritization at signalized intersection. This was 2021. The second document which was written and which was important was for the public transport companies. So the Association of the German Transport Companies has written one paper which was called Prioritization of Public Transport at Traffic Signal Lights with CITS. And the third was for the transport, so the infrastructure side, the infrastructure authorities from the German Road and Transportation Research Association. This was references for the technology change from CITS at traffic lights, and this was finished 2 years ago. With these papers, it was now possible, first of all, to get more easy decisions to implement CITS in the cities, and of course to get funding for national funding, especially for implementing and deploying the different CITS installations in Germany. Maybe you know that we have already installed a prioritization service with the so-called R09 telegrams, and therefore 2 steps to get a final deployment were defined. The first step were that we put these common registration points we had in an approach of an intersection in the CAM message. Since 2024, we put it in the signal request message to get step by step to a final implementation and a final deployment by using the signal request message, and of course by using the estimated time of arrival. So like the service is standardized and also harmonized. This is the final implementation of all the deployments. On this slide, the most important fact is that we need time. We need time to, first of all, adapt the infrastructure side and also the vehicle side. And if we have bigger cities, we need in Germany about 5 to 15 years for the second step, so for the final deployment. In a first step, so if we put only the registration points into a signal request message, we need approximately 5 years. The question is why we need so much time, and the answer is here. Because both sides, on the one hand, the infrastructure, and on the other hand, the vehicles, have to be change their kind of registration. First of all, the hardware, but also the software components. And that's why we have an kind of hybrid communication stage where we have both the analog radios and also the CITS radios on the public transport side and also on the infrastructure side, because before we can change and finalize the system with only CITS on both sides. This is a kind of schematic Darstellung, schematic architecture of the implementation we use. So the common way, the standardized way, is to communicate an ETA and a signal request message with the estimated time from the OBU onboard unit of the public transport vehicle to the roadside unit of the traffic lights. And we get in response a signal status message as a result of this prioritization request. Just to finish up, some information about the deployment in Germany. The most important deployments are, of course, the C-Roads deployments, but beside the C-Roads deployments, we have so many more deployments at the moment now, so that I was not able to put all the deployments really on this map you see here. But I will give you some information about C-Roads Germany. You already know, because Martin mentioned, in 2019, 15 cities started with the implementation of CITS services in cities. In Germany, this was Hamburg, Kassel, and Dresden. And with the follow-up project started in 2025, also Kaiserslautern, Hanover, and Frankfurt started with the implementation. And yeah, the services are here exemplary, of course, Closer, PVD, and TSP, but also other services were implemented in these different cities. And we have to say, in Germany, one of the front runner for the implementation of CITS is really the prioritization of public transport and the public transport companies. This we have to mention, because this is a really good signal during the last 2 or 4 years, which we see in the deployment of Germany. So this is really a short overview. I think we have afterwards time for some questions. So if you have any questions afterwards, we can collect the questions and will be answer. At this time now, I will finish up, and hopefully we hear with some questions later on.